My name is Joseph Sokolovic. I am the Vice Chair of the Bridgeport Board of Education, but not speaking on behalf of the board, but as an individual. The opinions are my own. The facts belong to every one of us. This is my attempt to explain of Bridgeport Public Schools. 2026 to 2027 proposed budget presented by Interim Superintendent Dr. Royce Avery on January 29, 2026 that can be found on the district website. Next year's budget and how funding will be used was front and center. Superintendent's letter. Bridgeport faces chronic underfunding from the city and the state. Fixed costs rise each year: wages, benefits, special education, transportation, and utilities, but revenue growth does not keep pace. The district adopted a new school-based allocation model using 34 state audit recommendations, plus advice from a state technical assistance team and consultants. The goal is a fair, transparent budget aligned with district goals and legal requirements. The presentation will cover goals, fiscal priorities, budget drivers, enrollment, MLL, SPED, wage increases, staffing, contracts, other costs, school-based budgeting, district funding sources, operational budget summary, FY27 proposed budget, fiscal stability efforts, next steps, and appendices. 1. Begin district-wide strategic planning. 2. Family and community engagement. 3. Academic achievement and equity in literacy and math. 4. Fiscal responsibility and sustainability via a long-term plan and equitable distribution. 5. Talent recruitment and retention of a diverse, highly qualified workforce. Maintain a structurally balanced budget across all fund sources, which in my opinion may turn out to be impossible under the current situation. Strengthen the school-based budgeting model. Ensure fiscal accountability with integrity, transparency, reporting, and systems. Use comprehensive fiscal management analysis, internal controls. Innovation to secure and optimize the limited resources provided by the state and local government. Major FY27 cost increases. Wages and benefits plus $18.4 million. Education services $3.8 million. Special education $651,000. Utilities $1.4 million. Transportation $776,000. Building maintenance plus $779K. Equipment and maintenance $547,000. These increases are to maintain current operations. Overall enrollment is relatively stable, but SPED and MLL counts are rising steadily. SPED grew from 7,918 to 10,376. Overall enrollment grew from 19,449 to 20,022 across recent years, but as of the presentation stands at about 19,200 per EdSite enrollment report, January 21, 2026. More students needing services drives higher staffing and support costs. MLL enrollment has increased each year. Growth requires more bilingual ESL teachers and language supports, which raises instructional and staffing costs. This introduces the special education trends section. SPED enrollment has steadily increased, adding pressure on staffing, specialized services, and mandated supports, IEPs, therapies, specialized transportation. While morally and legally obligated to provide these services, a disproportionate amount of our budget goes towards meeting these needs, reducing availability of funds to service the majority of our students. Total SPED spending grew from $90,112,557 FY1 to $120,331,225 FY5, a 4-year increase of $30,218,669. Key changes over 4 years. Teacher salaries $2.7 million, other salaries $3 million, employee benefits plus $1.33 million, purchase services $15.93 million, special education tuition $7.23 million. Notable 4-year changes: Phi to 1 gives Phi to 5, transportation services $7.05 million, medical services $3.55 million, Human Services Kelly, Delta, ESS, and Behavioral Health $4.22 million. Purchase services are costly because they rely on outside providers and specialists. Union contracts and salary lane, step movement increase personnel costs yearly across teachers, administrators, nurses, paras, trades, and other groups. From Phi to 4.2 FY to 5, total staffing fell by 82 FTE from 2,859.9 to 2,777.9. Examples: general education teachers 29.8 FTE, SPED teachers 14.5 FTE, SPED paraprofessionals 19 FTE, counselors, social workers, school psychologists 6 FTE, central office certified and non-certified declined to 150 FTE, the lowest in several years. Approximate payroll figures. Administrators decreased from a high of 64 to 41 FTE projected, even as programs and services expanded. Lists administrative roles, for example, assistant superintendent, CFO, CIO, directors of special education, literacy, math, science, social services, technology and operations managers, grants and budget managers, executive directors, shows each role's count. Bridgeport, 204.3 students per administrator FY to 5. Peer comparisons include lower ratios, for example, 112.6, 149.3, 160.6, indicating heavier administrative load in Bridgeport. This is a number that is unintentionally misleading due to the lag in data. A more realistic ratio is around 172 students per administrator. Bridgeport, 14.5 students per teacher FY to 5, close to peer districts shown 13.1, 12.6, 14.1. High-need populations make support demands greater even with similar ratios. Projected wage-related increases total about $8,667,000. Breakdown: B teachers $4,994,000, BCS administrators $494,000, AFSCME J unaffiliated $2,269,000, nurses and LLANE $141,000, NAGE $452,000, trades $95,000, city supervisors and Z unaffiliated $222,000. Other rising costs include utilities, building repairs, services, substitutes, and equipment necessary to keep schools running safely and reliably. 5 to 5 actual $28,650,884 gives FY26 forecast. $30,927,366 gives FY27 budget request. $32,781,725 FY to 7 detail. Regular $7,342,050. SPED $21,343,778. Charter $2,034,014. Parochial non-public $783,526. SPED charter $348,475. Specific services agriculture agricients CS 6 to 6. RCA athletics $929,882. Substitutes and paraservices Kelly and Delta. FY27 requests $19.5 million including vacancies. Utilities electric, gas, water, sewer, telephone. 5 to 7 requests $9.9 million. Core components: 1. Position allocations via equitable formulas with school-specific adjustments. 2. Operating allocation $30 elementary student and $35 high school student with option to fund part-time hourly roles. 3. Teacher's choice $30 per classroom teacher via school specialty e-card. For parent engagement $6.54, student Title I or state priority, requiring a plan approved by the principal and PAC PDSO president. Purpose: produce a FY 26-27 budget that advances district goals and complies with federal, state laws, city ordinances, and board policies. Requested FTE changes from FY to 6 to requested FY to 7. SPED paras plus 37.0, instructional coaches plus 19.0, SP teachers plus 11.5, other positions plus 18.8, SL bilingual teachers plus 10.0. Assistant principals, directors plus 12.5, clericals plus 2.0, principals 0.0, classroom teachers G 6.0, specialists 4.6, total plus 100 point to FTE. These positions are essential and I support bringing them back, but don't believe this request goes far enough. Our children and staff need us to fight to bring back every classroom position and front-facing support that has been cut the last 2 years and more. Funding comes from City of Bridgeport, State of Connecticut, ECS and Alliance, and multiple federal, state grants Title I-4, IDEA 611 and 619, Interdistrict Magnet, State Bilingual, etc. Shows the mix of general fund and major grants Alliance, Priority District, Title I-4, IDEA 611, 619th, Interdistrict Magnet, State Bilingual. iCity share increased from $69,040,633 FY to $1 to $81,665,638 FY to 6. ECS state revenue remained flat at $164,195,344 FY to 1 FY to 6. Alliance ECS grant rose from $23,219,034 FY to 1 to $48,601,013 FY to 6. Total budget rose from $256,455,011 FY to 1 to $294,461,995 FY to 6. Graph shows city and state revenue trend lines over time, illustrating that revenue growth is slower than expenditure growth. When compared to the cost of living, we fall further and further behind. 5 to 6 grant applications in progress. Chart shows awarded and anticipated entitlement grant revenue as of January 16, 26. Average Alliance per pupil amount. $3,156 student. Examples. Alliance $48,601,013 funding 350 to FTE. Title I $13,337,707 funding 87 FTE. IDEA $6,116,401,041 funding 84 FTE. Interdistrict Magnet $7,945,328 funding 75 FTE. Other grants $41,118,153 funding 96 FTE. Total grants $128,983,137 supporting 729 FTE. If funded at the peer average per pupil rate, Bridgeport would receive $14.6 million more in Alliance funding, raising the total to about $63.2 million. More importantly, raising the foundation amount to $17,000 would bring millions more to most districts. With our largest, most underfunded districts, not only avoid cuts, but to begin to reverse some of the cuts from prior years. Overview of spending categories: salaries, benefits, educational services, transportation, utilities, medical and legal services, tuition, other services, supplies, building, equipment, vehicle maintenance, dues, miscellaneous. Selected categories FY to 6 revised. Salaries $110.9 million. Benefits $57.2 million. Transportation $28.995 million. Educational services $9.93 million. Medical services $7.84 million. Utilities $8.55 million. Tuition $23.42 million. Building and maintenance $4.30 million. Grand total $245.86 million. 5 to 7 request totals $293,562,103. Category shares: salaries $129,286,213, 44.04%. Benefits $67,767,064, 23.08%. Transportation $32,781,725, 11.17%. Tuition $23,833,494, 8.12%. Utilities $9,951,862, 3.39%. Educational services $10,712,062, 3.65%. Remaining categories under 3% each. These are costs required just to maintain current services, staffing levels, and operations, no program expansions. Driven by contracts, transportation, utilities, special education, and other required services. Among CT's 5 largest districts, Bridgeport's NCEP is $18,311 per pupil, lower than Hartford $23,794, Stanford $23,641, and New Haven $21,926. Out of 166 districts statewide, Bridgeport ranks number 160 by NCEP. Bridgeport is 7th lowest in NCEP among 166 districts. Surrounding districts spend more per pupil, giving them additional resources and programs. Introduces the superintendent's FY to 7 recommended budget. Status quo increase need $47.7 million, 16.2%. School-based request $61.6 million, 20.9%. Superintendent's recommended request to the board, $44.1 million, 14.97%. When I first got this presentation just 30 hours before the presentation, I nearly choked on my Coke Zero. I was shocked that the superintendent's request represented $3 million less than the status quo. Our children deserve more than the status quo. We need to increase our request to reverse the cuts made over the last few years. Visual shows how cost drivers add up to the recommended increased status quo needs. Transportation, utilities, sped, wages, etc. Actions taken, non-essential budget and hiring freeze. Principals and directors submitted potential reductions. Community forums. Collaboration with city, state, and advocacy groups for funding. 0.5% transportation reduction, saving $163,909. LED upgrades in 26 schools, saving $988,333 annually. Cleaning robots deployed. Integrating 34 forensic audit recommendations into daily operations. Restates the three key numbers for clarity: $47.7 million status quo, $61.6 million school-based, $44.1 million superintendent recommended, which I personally reject outright. I repeat, our students and staff deserve more than the status quo. I am not going to sugarcoat it. If Bridgeport and other impacted districts do not receive adequate funding, our children's future is in severe jeopardy. We need your help. Please watch my page, attend board meetings, check Parent Square for advocacy opportunities, write a letter to the editor, write the mayor, the governor, provide testimony either written or in person. We need to speak with one voice, one message. Raise the foundation amount of the ECS to $17,000 to account for the increased cost of living and to close the racial funding gap. When we fight, we win. The people united cannot be defeated. Together we can make a difference, especially in an election year. Thank you.